we can start doing what's called exploratory data analysis, where we are just looking at our data to see if we can make sense of it. Now, I personally like Seaborn, and the standard import for Seaborn is import Seaborn as SNS. I want to create here as a scatterplot. Scatterplot is where you have two variables, one that is the X and one that is the Y. And I want to look, you can read through the arguments, and sometimes that's helpful, but usually with this type of documentation, scrolling to the bottom and seeing the examples is really a lot more helpful. So when I look at this, I'm seeing this is an example where they loaded a data set of tips. And this was the different things that could happen in this restaurant and what the size of the tip was. Total bill was, sex of the server, whether or not the person was a smoker, what day it was, what time it was, and how many people were in the party. So we want to pull out these numerical variables of tip and total bill and see if there's any relationship between them. And here we see that in this data set, as the total bill went up, the tips went up, which is what you would expect, right? But we're going to say we want to create something that looks like this, so we just need to replicate this syntax. And so what I'm seeing here is that the data creates this data frame, then I can specify the X and the Y as columns from the data frame. So here is the syntax that we need. Lots of times looking through the formal API part is not as helpful as scrolling to the bottom and looking for the example to see if they're doing what you're trying to do. So what we should be able to do is sns.scatter. Our data source is going to be fake df. Our X will be X0, and our Y is just the Y coordinate here will be X1. Thank you. A scatter plot, not scatter. Doesn't like that either. What are we doing wrong? Fake df did not need quotes. There we go. So you can see here are two clusters on the X and Y, and you can make this even more glaring if you add the hue command, which will change your, so now we see that the things up here are the 1 class and the things down here are the 0 class. So this is very clearly linearly separable into the two clusters. And that's our fake data set. And any classifier that we want to run, be able to do a good job on, now have something that we understand and that we can talk about. Are there any thoughts, questions, or comments on this? Well, with two variables only, with two features only, it's a little bit underwhelming. Typically, you'd have more of these. You'd have more than two predictor features. And so we could do this experiment again, where we did it with more, and we would have multiple more columns. And then what we would need to do is make lots of scatter plots. For right now, let's declare victory. We can say we know how to make a fake data set.